Andersonville, and he is John Frankenheimer. How did this project come about?
Well, Larry, it came about, I think, through Ted Turner. Ted is a great Civil War expert. Buff expert. He wanted to do Andersonville. He commissioned it. David Rintells wrote it. And then the Turner Network came to me to do it.
And did you jump at it right away? Because this is not your cup of tea, war movies, is it?
Well, I did The Train, which was kind of a war movie.
Yeah.
No, I didn't jump at it right away because I knew how tough it was. I mean, it's a huge undertaking because you just have this tremendous set, thousands of people to deal with. And I thought, wow, I mean, do I really want to do this? And the producer was a woman named Ethel Wynett with whom I'd worked on Playhouse 90 and
Years ago.
And with John Houseman on All Fall Down. And she said, we really want you to do this, and I want to work with you, and it's been a long time, it's been this, it's been that, and for a lot of reasons you should do this. And I said, well, I'm not available because I have to do this movie, The Burning Season, for HBO. And she said, well, we'll hold it for you until you can do it. And with all that kind of stuff, I finally said, all right, I will.
So they waited and let you do The Burning Season, which was Raul Julia, right?
Yes.
What a man he was.
Yeah, he was.
Oh.
He was a magnificent guy.
Have you done a lot of television film? I mean, I'm forgetting the old days.
Larry, the first television film I ever did was Against the Wall for HBO. And then The Burning Season, and then this. This is the third one.
All the previous was live.
All of it was live, or taped, yeah.
You were a kid. We'll talk about all that.
I was a kid,
right.
Yeah.
The number one problem of Andersonville was its scope?
Well, you had two problems with it, Larry. First of all was the scope. It's huge. In the fact that you have this gigantic fort that's 9 acres. That's what I said, it was 9 acres.
Where'd you shoot?
In Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, a place called Sharpsburg. And the second thing is that you're dealing with a prison camp that, for all practical, I mean, it has an unhappy ending to it.
Uh-huh.
So what you have to do is figure out how to do a show like this so that you don't do an apocalypse of horror for the audience, because I don't think the audience wants to see that. So with David Rintells, what we did was we have a lot of things going on in this picture. I mean, there's hope, there's nobility, really.
These are Union soldiers being held by this is the story of who's in the prison camp.
The Union soldiers
are in the prison camp.
Yeah, that's another thing. We didn't want to do an anti-Southern movie because it is not an anti-Southern movie. It's an anti-war movie. Big difference. And we wanted to do a whole theme in this picture about law and about what it's like to have certain moral rules by which you live your life. There are a lot of things to do here.
Casted it with new talent, or?
Yeah, for the most part. We cast it with really good actors. I mean, we have Frederick Forrest, Bill Macy, Fred Coffin, Bill Sanderson, people that one knows. But for the lead, we have this new young boy, Jared Emick, who's wonderful. He won the Tony for Damn Yankees in New York. And I think he's a wonderful actor.
Did you pick him?
I did.
How long did it take shooting this?
A very short amount of time compared to what we had to do. We shot it in 60 days, and that's very short for what we had to do.
If this were a full-length feature film, and eventually, knowing Ted, it'll be in theaters.
Well, I don't want it to go in theaters. That's a whole other story for another time.
You don't want it in theater?
No, I don't.
Unlike Gettysburg.
Unlike Gettysburg. I don't want it to go into theater.
You want this to stay television?
Yes, I think it is uniquely television.
And it was shot with that in mind?
It was.
So, and I know you were very much artistic. You were thinking 28-inch, 36-inch screen.
I was, Larry. I mean, the way it was composed, the way it was edited, the way it was structured, and the way it was cast. Yes.
We'll come back to it. You're a child of television.
I am.
Started at what age?
Well, I started at 23.
Doing?
I was an assistant director in New York for Sidney Lumet, and then from there I went on to, and for Edward R. Murrow, and then from there I was a director when I was 24.
And you were directing what, for the benefit of our older audience will know, younger audience will not, live television drama.
Live television drama.
That means wasn't taped.
No.
The actor would get shot and maybe stand up during the commercial. And
that never happened. Oh, during the commercial.
Yeah, but never cut where you saw him stand up after being shot.
I didn't have that kind of bad luck.
But you directed for all of them, didn't you?
I directed for CBS mainly, and then some for NBC. And
so you did Playhouse 90?
Playhouse 90, Studio One, Climax, Danger, Ford Star Time, and Producer Showcase.
Was it somewhat like the Hollywood big studios that you were under contract to CBS and they could say, John, you're doing Climax this week?
Well, at the beginning it was, Larry. At the beginning, that was the whole thing. I didn't want to be a director because I was an associate director and I was doing very well. And an associate director at CBS in those days was kind of like being a cameraman. In other words, your job was to get the shots for the director. And that's always been my strong suit with the camera. And I knew that. And I was very happy and very kind of good at that. And I was a wonderful assistant director because I didn't want the director's job. I mean, you know, I really wasn't looking for his job. I just wanted to help him because I didn't want to do it. I was very happy doing what I did. I was terrified of kind of having to stage actors and all that kind of stuff. And I was making a lot of money. I was 23 years old. I wasn't married. I was working with Edward R. Murrow, Sidney Lumet. I mean, on and on it went. It was a great life.
So, how'd you become a director?
Well, what happened was I was doing this show, Danger.
Danger.
Which
Tony Mottola.
With the guitar. Boing and...
Hold on right there. I want to pick this up.
Sure.
I'll never forget Danger. And you saw this a knife.
That's right.
And the thing springing back and forth, and Tony Mottola's great theme. John Frankenheimer is our guest, the award-winning director of such films as Birdman of Alcatraz, Manchurian Candidate, 7 Days in May, Black Sunday, The Iceman Cometh, Burning Season on HBO, and now Andersonville, tomorrow and Monday. It premieres, you'll see it often, though, on TNT. We'll be right back with John. He's our guest for the full show tonight on Larry King Weekend. Don't go away.
Who's with me? I'm with you, Jim. We're with you. We're with you. Whoa! Yeah. You want us? Then let's get out!
Larry King Weekend is brought to you by Texas. It's like a whole other country. Come to Texas. It's a colorful place. And by Ginkoba. Try new Ginkoba, the thinking person supplement. New from Ginsana.
If you're coming to Texas, I would take you to the McDonald Observatory. See the big old microscope there and different kind of planets. I'd take you out to the beach and go swim in there. And I'd take you horseback riding. Take you out of the Alamo. My favorite thing in the whole state is the jackalopes. I've seen a postcard of them. I'm pretty sure they exist.
If you want to know why Texas is like a whole other country, just ask one of our 18 million ambassadors.
For everybody out there gifted with a photographic memory, I present the new 272-page Texas Travel Guide. Exciting, huh? Hope you enjoyed reading it.
Of course, if you don't have a photographic memory, we'll send you a free copy. Just call 1-800-8888-TEXT.
Your ability to think, to mentally focus, remember detail. It helps you get more things accomplished in your day, in your life. It's also why new Ginkoba is one of the most important natural supplements today. Ginkoba's been shown in clinical tests to help improve mental performance, sharpen concentration, and improve your memory. Imagine a supplement that actually helps you think better. Now that's the big idea. Remember new Ginkoba, the thinking person supplement.
Discover the feeling of Fix-It Fresh. A stronger, longer hold, a more secure, fresh approach to wearing dentures. And the fresh sensation gives you the confidence to live life without limits. Try a fresh approach.
There's a certain doctor making the rounds of the city's hospitals. He has a special practice. Murder. Scalpel-edged suspense from the master of the medical thriller, Michael Palmer. Silent treatment at bookstores now.
We're back with John Frankenheimer. We're going back to the early days of television and Danger. All right, so you were going to be associate director, but they asked you to direct one?
No, it wasn't quite that simple. What happened was that I would go in the day before the show, and the director...
Live.
So
if it's Tuesday at 10, it's Tuesday at 10.
Tuesday at 10. On Monday, I would go in, and the director would then show me what he kind of laid out, and we would then put in the camera shots, and the next day we would be in the studio We'd have to block it. We'd have to do the dress rehearsal. We'd have to do the air show, and as you said, at 10 o'clock. So the day before I went in there, and the director looked at me and he said, the director I hadn't worked with, he said, now before we start, he said, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. I said, okay. And he said, now this is what I want, and you write it down. So I said, all right. So I said, now right here, he said, and John Cassavetes was in the show, and Mark Rydell, and Harry Gardino, and a bunch of guys that I knew that I'd been working with. So he said, all right, he said, now, he said, and he'd start off, he said, now here, I want a close-up of Larry, say. And I said, and he said, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. And I said, well, I said, I have to say it because I would be remiss. I said, there's a wall right here, and you're standing here. There's no way we can get that close-up. He said, you just mark it down, close-up. So the whole rehearsal went kind of like this. In the meantime, Mark Rydell came up to me and said, you know, he said, this guy's crazy. He said on and on and on. So
they're still around, by the way. Yeah,
so
people like that. Go ahead.
So we get into the studio the next day, and it was a disaster. I mean, we couldn't block the show. He started to scream. He said, where did this wall come from? I said, well, you were standing on it yesterday. You know, there was a piece of tape yesterday. Today it's a wall 10 feet high. Anyway, it was a 35-page script. By the time we were supposed to have blocked it, 4 hours later, we were on page 12. We never got through the blocking. So what would happen is I told the crew, kind of like, now the guy's going to escape here, and it was escape from a prison camp, which was prophetic, I guess, with Andersonville, you know. But anyway, what happened was we got on the air, and as you said, Tony Mottola, boing.
Danger.
Yeah. Now, there were 3 cameras. In those days, they didn't have zoom lenses. They had turrets. So camera 1 wasn't doing anything. We did this in old Studio 71 at CBS, which was an old movie theater, so that control room was up where the balcony used to be, and you could see down from the control room down to the floor. And there was a piece of glass in front of the control room. So what happened was, camera 1 had nothing to do, and the camera was just pointed at random, you know, and it just happened to be pointed at the control room, which is part of the story. So I'll never forget this. I don't remember what I did last week, but I remember this very well. So what happened was, we were supposed to come up on camera 2. So I did Tony Mottola with the knife, Blang, and then Stark with the Ipana commercials. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And I said, ready 2. And the director screamed, take 1, he said. Well, 1 on a long lens was shooting right at the control room, and suddenly I look up at the monitor, and from coast to coast, there's a close-up of me. And I remember looking at the monitor, and I remember my mouth saying, and I said, take 2. And the guy took 2, and at which point the director stood up and said, save me, take anything. And he vomited all over me, okay? So,
wow.
Throwing the stuff off my face and so forth and so on, and I said to the production assistant, who used to be a boxer, his name was Ron, I said, get this guy out of here. So Ron stood up and cold-cocked the director and took him out. And so we somehow got this show on the air. I mean, it was like the game of the week. You know, you followed the guy that was talking with the camera. Like,
and you were a hit.
Well, it wasn't that. I went in the next day to CBS. I was 24 years old. And I remember I had the arrogance of somebody who's 24 years old. And I remember going into the program executive, who was Hubble Robinson, and saying, Mr. Robinson, I don't have to take this. You know, I mean, I don't have to be vomited on. I don't have to have this kind of nonsense. I said, I don't need that. I said, I could do this better than that. And that was the famous thing. He said, well, then why don't you? And I said, oh, no. I said, I don't want to do that because there are only 2 networks. There's NBC and there's CBS.
There's no ABC.
No ABC then. I said, if I get fired from CBS, I got nowhere to go. I said...
I got a secure job.
Yeah, I do. And in those days, you had to sign a 6-year contract, what you were talking about. 6 years at $180 a week. And if you weren't working, and $250 if it was a commercial show. And I was making more than that as an assistant director. And they had a 2-week firing clause. So if they didn't like you, you're out in 2 weeks. So I said, look, I don't want to do it. Anyway, through a long thing, they convinced me that I should. And I said, well, I'll only do it under one condition, which is that if I mess it up, I get my old job back again. And so they said okay to that.
Were you a hit right away?
Well, yeah, Larry.
Because you were known around New York
Yeah.
Who were the other directors known then?
Well, Schaffner, Ralph Nelson, Delbert Mann, Paul Nickel, Bobby Mulligan, Sidney Lumet.
They were all working live television.
Arthur Penn.
And Arthur Penn.
Yeah.
And you got famous in your 20s.
Yeah.
So you were written about then, right? You were doing shows like Climax,
Playhouse
Danger,
90,
Playhouse 90, etc.
Yeah.
What separated the good director from the bad in live television? Quick decision-making?
Well, I think, number one, you had to kind of be
Great.
very cool under pressure.
I would say.
You really did. I mean, the pressure was enormous. And I think you had to have a very good technical mind because you had to maneuver all those cameras around and really be able to plan them because every shot was pre-planned.
More in a minute. The Life and Times of John Frankenheimer, Andersonville, premieres on TNT tomorrow night. This is Larry King Weekend. Don't go away.
6 miles melt around her. Legs, knees, feet, toes send thank you cards to her soul for convincing them 6 miles was possible. The soul thanks them in return for their hard work and dedication. How nice that she can pat herself on the back without moving a muscle. A reward for outrunning 1,000 excuses. Again.
The customer's a big key into repair. If you can't listen to customers, you've got no business being in a dealership. But sometimes it takes a little extra effort.
That's right here in the
You've got to listen to the customer, get in the vehicle with the customer, drive it, whatever the case might be. Quality care standards is what they're called. We have a lot of competition out there. It's our obligation to do a better job, and that's what we're going to do.
Quality care people, quality care standards at your Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealer.
That great new printer you bought has a part missing. The paper. Get Hammermill, the paper that works.
At BASF, we don't make the skates, we make them ride smoother. We don't make the car, we make it more colorful. We don't make the shampoo, we make it gentler. We don't make the helmet, we make it more comfortable. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy, we make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
Sunday, as the polls tighten and the campaign rhetoric heats up, the Republican candidates meet for their most important debate before Tuesday's primary. For complete coverage, turn to Campaign 96, Sunday, 8 Eastern on CNN.
The Comedian. Directed by John Frankenheimer.
We're back with one of the greats, John Frankenheimer, and we're discussing now the early days of television. A lot of great actors started. Cassavetes, you mentioned.
Fabulous actors. Paul Newman,
Jack
Eva
Lemmon.
Marie Saint, Jack Lemmon, Jack Palance. On and on it
They
goes.
all worked in Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston, a
Worked
lot.
live television.
Lee Marvin, Richard Boone.
Did you see this talent? Could you say then, hey, this Lemon's going to be something? Were you good at forecasting? Did you say, I think Palance has a career?
Well, Jack Palance, yeah, absolutely. Walter Matthau. All these people, yeah, you definitely saw it, Larry. I mean, there it was. I mean, they didn't have anything to hide behind.
They were doing Broadway?
A lot of them were doing Broadway so that we could work with them on programs like You Are There, which was on Sunday afternoon because they had Sunday off.
So you did documentaries, too?
Well, You Are There was that program which was a dramatic recreation of a historical event.
Walter Cronkite.
Walter
And
Cronkite
You Are
there. Exactly. That was the first show I directed.
You also did Air Force documentaries, too?
I did.
On those series, you did comedy, drama, suspense, all kinds of things.
Well, Larry, I never did a comedy intentionally.
No, there was they never did comedies on
Well,
film?
some of them turned into comedies, but they didn't start out that way.
What took you to film?
Well, what took me to film, the first thing that took me to film was I did a climax show called Deal a Blow, written by Robert Dozier. And Bill Dozier, who was his father, and I don't want this to sound like nepotism because it really isn't, became head of RKO, who was also program executive at CBS, and wanted to do this climax show as a film. And he hired me to direct it in 1956. So I was doing something that I'd already done. And the movie came out to be The Young Stranger. And Larry, I hated the experience. I really did.
Hated Hollywood?
No, it wasn't Hollywood. I was there already. I mean, we did Climax and Playhouse 90 from Hollywood, which people don't
You
realize.
had moved west.
Oh, yeah, in 1955. We did all those shows from California.
So what did you hate?
Well, I didn't get along with the crew, who were a lot older than I was, and who had been doing things a certain way. I think that I didn't know how to use the medium. I was used to being a director who would rehearse a great deal and use one scene to get into another. I fought the medium, and I made no effort, I think, at that time to really learn the medium because I knew I was going back to do Playhouse 90.
And also, in television, you shot in sequence, right?
That's the point.
Scene one went to scene two. In film, you might shoot the last scene first.
I had a hard time with that.
Who was in The Young Stranger?
The same kid that was in the television show, James MacArthur, and then James Daly, Kim Hunter, and Whit Bissell. I mean,
all right, so did you intend, I'm going to do this movie now, I'm going back to television?
Absolutely.
Then what?
I always knew I was going to go to Playhouse 90 that fall.
You did?
Oh, yeah. And
when did you go back to film?
When they canceled everything in television. I mean, I turned down movies during those 4 years of Playhouse 90. I didn't want to do them. And I would have continued to do television, that kind of television. I would have never gone to movies because I love doing that.
But they just, that kind of television left us because of movies.
Yeah.
So what was your first big breakthrough film?
Well, I think the first big breakthrough film was The Birdman of Alcatraz, but before that I had done The Young Savages with Burt Lancaster. But then right after that I did The Birdman of Alcatraz.
All right, that film, of course, is still considered an epic. Was it difficult to do? Where'd you shoot?
Well, we couldn't get any cooperation from the Bureau of Prisons because they...
Now they're helping make The Rock.
Yeah, but I think even now you would have a problem because there was this whole clash between Stroud and the Prison Bureau, and they did not want...
Stroud was the Birdman.
He was, and they did not want to make a hero out of him. And to tell you what kind of arrogance I had as a kid, I wanted to do The Birdman of Alcatraz live on Playhouse 90. Now, can you imagine?
With birds?
With birds. I thought I could do it. We thought we could do anything. Now, of course, it would have been a disaster.
You were the kind of guy that said, yes. Let's try this. Yeah, I love that.
I did.
That separates the men from the boys in this business. People who say yes as opposed to the 98% who say no. How could you have done Birdman of Alcatraz live on television?
In retrospect, Larry, I don't think we could have. But I thought we could. Well, I found that out. I found that out, didn't I? With the movie.
How great an actor was Lancaster?
He was wonderful. I did 5 movies with Burt. And I did The Young Savages, The Birdman of Alcatraz, and I did 7 Days in May.
What a movie.
And The Train, and The Gypsy Moths. And I loved him. I really did. I really did love him.
That intensity he brought to the screen, he was as a human as well, right? I mean, I remember doing this show, and we had him on with Jimmy Stewart, and they were lambasting, colorizing.
Yeah, but, you know, he was more than intense. He was dedicated. He was a real artist. He was a terrifically hard worker. He's the most professional man I've ever known. He expected the best from everyone because he gave the best.
You had to skirt a delicate issue in Birdman of Alcatraz. He was gay, was he not?
Well, I think that out of the prison system he became homosexual. I don't think he was to begin with. And we just never dealt with it.
At all?
No.
Today you would?
I don't know if I would, Larry. I don't think that it's really that pertinent to the story. Probably you would have thrown something like that in, but I don't think that it would have helped the story any. I don't think that homosexuality was anything that drove him one way or another. I think that it was just a necessity in the prison system since he was in it for his entire life.
A violent killer who became one of the great experts on bird and bird diseases in the world, right?
That's right. And then, of course, in Alcatraz, they took all the birds away from him.
I want you to talk to Stella. I want you to tell her not to follow me.
Did you get to like film now?
Yeah, by the time I did Birdman of Alcatraz, which was more like doing a Playhouse 90 than it was doing a big action movie, because we did the whole movie in sequence, which was much more the way I was used to doing things. I was very comfortable in Birdman of Alcatraz, and I got along very well with Lancaster and with Carl Malden and with Neville Brand, and Betty Field, and Thelma Ritter. I mean, we had a wonderful cast. And then from there, I got into another situation which I was very comfortable with, which was All Fall Down, with my friend John Houseman and Ethel Wynant. And again, the same actor, Carl Malden, and wonderful people like Angela Lansbury. That was the first mother she played for me.
Before Manchurian Candidate.
And Warren Beatty and Brandon DeWilde.
Not bad.
And it was a wonderful cast, written by William Inge and produced by Houseman, who was just fabulous.
Great.
And then from All Fall Down, I went right to Manchurian Candidate.
Which we will talk about next. Manchurian Candidate has become part of the lore, isn't it? That famed movie with Lawrence Harvey and Angela Lansbury and Frank Sinatra, directed by Frankenheimer, running up the steps at the end. Never forget that. And he actually ran up the steps, Frank, right? We'll talk about the Manchurian Candidate with the genius behind it, John Frankenheimer, who brings us Andersonville tomorrow night and Monday night on TNT. Don't go away.
First attention! For break! Purple! Hey! Forward! March! Three cheers for Sergeant McSpadden! Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip!
A bottle of soda pop contains about 85% water. And what water is in the bottles of some of the world's best-selling soft drinks?
Hey, Culligan man.
Culligan, the world's source for better water.
I'm on the road 345 days out of the year. And luckily for me, everywhere I go, there's a mailboxes, etc. An office on the road, if you will. I drive a 27-foot-long hot dog on wheels. That's my company car. Mailboxes, etc. is our link to our corporate headquarters. This is the place to get all your mail, do lots of copies, and get all your faxes. And anytime you need to ship or receive something, that's where you go.
Mailboxes, etc. It's not what we do, it's how we do it.
I relish the service I get from MBE. And that's no baloney. Well, if my check is $100, I get back 20. If my check is $300, I get back 60. If it's $600, I get back $120.
Introducing a special invitation from Dining a la Carte. A 2-month trial membership for free.
Dining a la carte is earning extra money.
Just for eating out. Dining a la Carte works with your credit cards. There are no embarrassing coupons and no restaurant blackout periods.
I love the amount of money that I've saved with dining a la carte. I've saved well over $1,000.
Just dine at participating restaurants. In about 30 days, you'll receive a rebate check that equals 20% of your total restaurant charges, including tax and tips.
Dining a la carte is a good thing for people who like to go out for dinners and like to save money.
And here's your special invitation. Call right now and get a 2-month trial membership for free.
Sunday, it's an hour of Washington's friends and foes. First, the Capitol Gang gets together to look at the week in Washington. Then, get caught in the crossfire with Lynn Cheney and Bob Eckel. Friends and foes back to back. Sundays on CNN.
We'll be right back with John Frankenheimer right after these words.
Sunday on CNN Late Edition, the GOP race for the White House moves into high gear. Meet the campaign chief. Sunday, noon Eastern on CNN.
There's an awesome power that can eliminate over half of our nation's defense forces. It's everywhere, and it can strike at any time. Who has this incredible power? You do. If you employ National Guard and Reserve members, you need to use your power wisely, because today, the Guard and Reserve make up over half of our country's defense. So when they need time off to serve, be a hero. Give them the freedom to protect ours.
Tune in TCI for Prime Sports College Basketball.
Okay, Prime Sports has got Pac-10 men's and women's hoops with live back-to-back Metro and Pac-10 games of the week. Exclusive live men's and women's Big Sky. Live Gonzaga, WCC in the lane. And the Supersonics taking it to the NBA. When you're with Prime Sports, you got all the shots.
Tune in the action on TCI.
Capitol Gang Sunday, 7 Eastern on CNN.
We are talking with one of the directorial geniuses of all time, film and television, John Frankenheimer, who brings us on TNT Andersonville It premieres tomorrow night, March 3rd, and then again Monday, March 4th. Is it in two parts? Or
Yes, Larry, it's in two parts.
And it'll be shown that way at various times throughout the month on TNT, and it will not be in theaters, so you have to watch it on television. And that's another story for another time, at which time Mr. Frankenheimer will explain it to us. Manchurian Candidate. What a project. A crazy project in the sense that that movie was pulled, right? Because it came out when Kennedy was shot.
No, Larry,
What
it
happened?
wasn't that simple. What happened was that the movie came out
Great
in
guy wrote it.
1962.
Condon, right?
Dick Condon, yeah. I mean, he is a great guy.
And Sinatra owned it. No, he got it later.
No, what happened was that George Axelrod and I were supposed to do Breakfast at Tiffany's. That was supposed to be a movie I did in 1960. And we were supposed to do it with Marilyn Monroe. And I got George Axelrod involved with the script. And we worked very closely on the script together and came out of it very good friends.
Marilyn Monroe and not Audrey Hepburn.
That's right. And what happened was that kind of overnight, the producers went to Switzerland and cast Audrey Hepburn. And her then husband, Mel Ferrer, got me fired because, quote, he had never heard of me. And so I was on the street. That's how I felt like really my life was coming to an end. I was getting divorced. I had no job. And that's when I got the Young Savages with Lancaster. But anyway, George and I had struck up a terrific friendship. And George said, we've got to work together. And we agreed that we did. And he said, do you know a novel by Dick Condon called The Manchurian Candidate? I said, no. And he said, well, it's been turned down by every studio, but maybe we should get it and look at it. So he was living on 64th Street and Madison Avenue in New York. So we went across the street to the bookstore. We bought 2 copies of it, and we read it in separate rooms that afternoon. And I loved it. And I said to him, God, it's fabulous. And he said, let's buy it. So we called his then agent, Irving Lazar, and Lazar called Condon, and by 8 o'clock New York time, we owned the book. I mean, it took a certain amount, it took a certain amount of money from both of us to do this, but then we had heard that Sinatra had always been interested in doing it. And Sinatra was friendly with the president, Kennedy. And United Artists, everybody else had turned it down. Well, Sinatra responded right away. He said, yes, I'd like to do this. Well, as soon as we had Sinatra, I mean, you know, it's like having whatever it is today, you know, Tom Hanks.
Financing came.
Well, United Artists suddenly was very interested in doing the movie.
And he got Lawrence Harvey.
Well, the president, we heard that the president didn't want the movie made, and Sinatra went to President Kennedy and said, how do you feel about this? He said, God, I love that book. He said, who's going to play the mother? And that's and it all.
He's the villain of the piece.
And it all started that way. And then we cast it, and George wrote it, and Larry Harvey and Angela Lansbury and all those wonderful actors are in it. And, you know, there's really not much more to the story than that, except to tell you that it was a wonderful experience.
You love Sinatra.
Yeah.
You love working with him.
We got along great.
Because he would have liked live television. Frank wanted to do it in one take.
Frank came to play, and Frank brought a lot to the party.
He freed himself at last. And in the end, heroically and unhesitatingly gave his life to save his country. Raymond Shaw. Hell.
Now the movie gets finished.
The movie was finished. It came out. It got very good reviews, but United Artists did not support it. They put all their money into that movie about the canon with Cary Grant and Sinatra and Sophia Loren that year. And they really didn't support our movie. They did a lousy job. But the movie, in spite of that, did okay. Then it ran in the theaters, and it was finished. Now, the president was assassinated in 1963. And what happened was that the people wanted to exploit the movie and have it brought out again. And we all said, no, it's not a movie about assassination. It's a movie about McCarthyism, which it is.
Which you're a big foe of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would not let it be re-released. Then it came out, it went on television, and then one of the things that Frank had in his contract was that he, after a certain number of years, controlled the reissue of the movie. Well, United Artists cross-collateralized that movie with every movie that I made and that Sinatra made, so that if it had been re-released and it had been E.T., we wouldn't have made any money. So they said, well, we want to re-release this, you know, when cable and cassettes came along. And we said no.
So I used to ask all those years, where is the Manchurian? Why don't we see this?
What happened was we went in and had this meeting, and they said, yeah, well, we'd like to release this on cassette. And Frank said, well, I think it would be better in the theater. And they said, well, Mr. Sinatra, you know, this thing has been on television and so forth and so on. We don't want to spend the money. And he said, how much money would it take? He said, well, we'd have to put out at least $2 million to make this work. He said, but we're not going to do it. He said, you don't have to. And he wrote him a check and handed it to him, $2 million. He said, now put it in the theaters. And if you have to spend the $2 million, here it is. Well, of course, the thing made a fortune. And,
what a story.
Yeah.
What a movie. John Frankenheimer, we're going to talk about Ingrid Bergman and others, and some more on Andersonville, and the time is going too fast on this edition of Larry King Weekend. We'll be right back.
Play in the rain. You could frolic in the snow. And when the sun shines, you could peel off the rest of your inhibitions. The Saab 900 convertible. Find your own road. Saab.
35% of people prefer vanilla ice cream. 66% are in favor of a 4-day work week. 38% of people enjoy reading. Statistics prove people don't always like the same things. But consider this. 98% of GeoPrism owners would recommend Prism to a friend. So get to know GeoPrism. Statistically speaking, you're bound to love it.
Everybody was sandbagging, but it was no use.
The floodwaters bring more than destruction. They bring the unexpected.
We lost everything. The volunteers go home and it's just you, throwing away your memories.
Floods can strike anywhere, anytime.
I never thought it could happen to us.
The National Flood Insurance Program can help. We can't replace your memories, but we can help you build new ones. For facts on flood insurance, call your insurance company, agent, or this number.
What about women? Ingrid Bergman, what was she like to work with?
She was fabulous.
Great actress?
She was everything. She was a great lady. She was a great actress. And she was beautiful. I'll tell you one quick story, okay?
Sure.
I had to go over and meet her.
This is for Taming of...
For the Turn of the Screw.
Turn.
I was 29 years old at the time.
Scary movie.
Yeah, I was 29 years old. So now I get sent over to Sweden to meet her. And they meet me in a speedboat and take me out to this island that she lives at. And she was fabulous. And she meets me, and with the producer, Hubble Robinson. He said, oh, you must be tired. And what you just do is you must take a sauna. So we did. We went into the sauna, and he was way over in this corner. I was there, and I'm sitting in the sauna. And it's right on the North Sea, this island. I mean, the North Sea is 0 degrees. So, sitting in the sauna, and suddenly in walked Ingrid Bergman into the sauna. And she took off her clothes and sat there. And I thought, oh, my God. And I felt certain things happening. Anyway, Larry, that afternoon I dove in the North Sea 7 times. I just want you to know. I mean, she was just magnificent.
And great to work with.
Fabulous.
What other women have you enjoyed working with?
Well, Angela Lansbury, I loved working with. I loved working with Anne Margaret. I loved working with Eva Marie Saint. I loved working with Ava Gardner.
She must have been something.
Jean Moreau. I've been very fortunate. Piper Laurie, Donna Winter.
Black Sunday, wild movie. I was in Black Sunday. I was in one of the scenes in the crowd at the Orange Bowl. Directed by Frankenheimer. We were all so excited. We were one of 80,000 people sitting in the Orange Bowl when Bruce Dern crashed the thing into the thing. Did you enjoy doing that?
Yeah, I loved it.
That was a wild movie.
Yeah, it was. I really liked doing that movie.
It was a fun book, too, Black Sunday.
It was a wonderful book. Thomas Harris, who wrote Silence of the Lambs.
That's right. Black Sunday, then 8 years, then Silence of the Lambs, and then Red storm rising or something, and now we're waiting for another one.
Yeah.
What happened to Frankenheimer? There was a period of time we didn't hear about you. Where did you go?
Well, a combination of things happened, Larry. I was very close to Bobby Kennedy. I did all his film and television. He was staying at my house. I drove him to the Ambassador Hotel the night he was shot. After he was killed, I really went into a very, very deep depression. I did. I moved out of the country, not in protest to the country, but just to kind of find myself, I guess. I moved to France, and it was at the same time I was doing a movie in Afghanistan, so I could edit the picture in France. And I loved it there, and I stayed there for a number of years. And then I came back to do The Iceman Cometh, which was, I think, the best thing I've ever done, which got buried because of terrible release pattern by American Express.
Lee Marvin was in it.
Lee Marvin, Frederick March, Robert Ryan, Jeff Bridges, on it goes. It's one of the best things I ever did, but nobody saw it.
Where were you when Kennedy was actually shot? Had you
Bobby Kennedy?
Yeah.
Well, what he said was that he wanted me up on the podium with him.
I remember watching it.
Yeah.
On to Chicago.
That's right. And that's strange you remember that, because what happened was we were supposed to go to the factory. P.S. Ellinger owned a part of the nightclub. And I said to him, I don't think it's a good idea that I go up on the podium with you, because I don't think it's good that you have a Hollywood movie director standing next to you. It's not the image that you want. And he said, okay. He said, but I don't want to go to the factory. He said, I want to go back to Malibu with you and Evans. Evans is my wife. And Ethel and I want to go back there and just kind of really just take it easy. He said, so when I say on to Chicago, you get the car. So I was standing in an archway where I could see him giving his speech, and yet there was a television monitor with a full picture of him right there. It was kind of like a shot out of the Manchurian Candidate, if you'll forgive me. And as I was saying that, this person brushed against me, and I've never felt this before or since somebody did that. There was an electric charge going through this guy. He went that way, because it was Sirhan.
Brushed against you.
Yeah. And so when he said, let's go on, win it in Chicago, I went out to get the car. And I had the car in front of the side entrance to the Ambassador Hotel. And suddenly the police started pounding on the car. Move it. They said, move it, move it, move it. I said, but this is for Senator Kennedy. They said, move it. And suddenly they carried, and suddenly this woman came running out and said, Kennedy's been shot, Kennedy's been shot. In the meantime, the police were screaming, move the car. And then they carried this person out of the Ambassador. It was Sirhan, which I didn't realize, of course. And my wife said, well, look, that's not Kennedy. That's not Kennedy. In the meantime, the police started hitting the car with sticks. And they said, move it. So I got in the car and I moved it, and I turned on the radio to the CBS channel, to the station, and it said, we interrupt this program to say that Senator Robert F. Kennedy, his brother-in-law, Stephen Smith, and movie director John Frankenheimer have been shot. And I can tell you what that sounds like, you know. And we didn't know what was going on. I mean, in the meantime, he hadn't wanted to go into the Ambassador. He'd wanted the press to come out to my house in Malibu, so he'd rented all these television sets, like 10 television sets, because he wanted that. So we drove. We couldn't find out anything because there were no, I couldn't call anybody. And all his clothes were at my house and everything. So we drove out at about 15 miles an hour to that house, and then it was something out of an Antonioni movie, you know, sitting there in front of 10 rented television sets watching that whole vigil.
We'll be back with more of John Frankenheimer on Larry King Weekend after this.
Discover the feeling of Fix-It Fresh. A stronger, longer hold, a more secure, fresh approach to wearing dentures. And the fresh sensation gives you the confidence to live life without limits. Try a fresh approach.
I'm on the road 345 days out of the year. And luckily for me, everywhere I go, there's a mailboxes, etc. An office on the road, if you will. I drive a 27-foot-long hot dog on wheels. That's my company car. Mailboxes, etc. is our link to our corporate headquarters. This is the place to get all your mail, do lots of copies, and get all your faxes, and anytime you need to ship or receive something, that's where you go.
Mailboxes, etc. It's not what we do, it's how we do it.
I relish the service I get from MBE. And that's no baloney.
The roads are getting rougher, and the chores are just getting tougher. You're working harder than ever. You need a truck that does, too. Meet the all-new 1997 Ford F-150. It throws an even longer shadow, with a wider stance and the largest V8 payload on the job. Plus an all-new suspension that loves abuse. After all, the ground's not getting any softer. The new Ford F-150. Strength after strength after strength.
Everybody was sandbagging, but it was no use.
The floodwaters bring more than destruction. They bring the unexpected.
We lost everything. The volunteers go home and it's just you, throwing away your memories.
Floods can strike anywhere, anytime.
I never thought it could happen to us.
The National Flood Insurance Program can help. We can't replace your memories, but we can help you build new ones. For facts on flood insurance, call your insurance company, agent, or this number.
Monday night on Larry King Live, Magic is back, playing the game he loves and opening a chain of movie theaters and living with HIV. A full hour with Irvin Magic Johnson and your call. Monday night, 9 Eastern on CNN. Back with John Frankenheimer, you'll see the great Civil War drama, Andersonville. Tomorrow and Monday night, it's in 2 parts on TNT, and then you'll see it frequently throughout March, and hopefully often on television throughout the years ahead. It will not be shown in theaters. He has just finished The Island of Dr. Moreau with Marlon Brando. I was in Brando's house when he signed those contracts to finish The Island of Dr. Moreau. First he didn't want to sign it, and he told his maid, "You sign it." And she said, "I think you ought to sign it." He signed it. What was it like to work with Marlon?
It was
You did that where? Australia, right?
Yeah, it was fabulous.
You never worked with him?
No. We knew a lot of the same people.
He's a great kibitzer, right?
He's everything.
I know. Genius.
Yeah, he is. And I don't use that word lightly, but he is a genius. What happened was that when I was very young, and I didn't know what I wanted to be, and I was very confused, and I thought, well, I want to be an actor, but I don't know if I should and could. I went to see Brando in Streetcar Named Desire.
On stage?
Yes. And it just completely turned my life around. I mean, I remember not sleeping, just walking the streets. And you could in those days walk the streets. And I remember just being overwhelmed. And throughout my life, every time I see Brando in films, I just think this is a genius. So I gave an interview about 8 months ago, and they said, well, what are the regrets in your career? But I don't like to talk about regrets. And I said that. And they said, well, give us the name of an actor who you wish you'd worked with and never had. And the first name that came to my mind was Marlon Brando. And I said, I've missed him, and I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd been able to do that. And 2 months later, the phone call came. I replaced a director who'd been shooting for 3 days on this movie with Brando.
That's right. You weren't the original?
No.
So you flew to Australia?
I did.
When is it coming out?
October 25th.
What was this a wild, crazy story?
It is.
It's a guy with animals and humans and...
Yeah, it's a moral fable. It's what it is. It's the theme of the movie is what happens. This is what happens when you let scientists loose without checking them. It's a brilliant scientist, Moreau, Dr. Moreau, who decides he wants to make a new species of creature. And he feels that man has been corrupted and is evil and so forth and so on. He wants to take animals and turn them into the perfect beings. And that's what he tries to do.
How do you shoot this?
With difficulty, is the answer to that. It's very hard.
A lot of makeup?
Well, Stan Winston, the guy who's done the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and so forth and so on, created the makeups. And I must say that if this picture works, it's largely because of Stan Winston.
This possibly could go through the roof, this movie, right?
Oh, Larry, I hate to say that. I mean,
but you got Brando coming in what amounts to a commercial epic.
Yeah, look, I've got letters signed by the biggest people in the business, like with Sumner Redstone and people like that, about Black Sunday, saying that Black Sunday was going to be much bigger picture ever than Jaws or anything else, going to be the super hit of all time. We got fabulous reviews for that picture. It came out, it did all right. I mean, it was a hit, but it wasn't some mega hit that they had all said.
What are they expecting of Moreau?
I don't know.
Who's
Larry.
the company?
New Line. They were very, very
another
good.
Turner company.
It is, but they're wonderful. And Look, I hope the picture does well. I can tell you this, I had a wonderful time making the picture.
Who else is in it?
Val Kilmer's in it.
You don't think this is going to do well?
I hope it does. No, I didn't say that.
Frankenheimer directed, Kilmer and Brando.
And we have a wonderful...
Brando had to leave Ireland to come do this, a film they never finished.
Yes, and we have a wonderful English actor named David Thewlis, who was in a picture called Naked and been in several others. He plays a very important part in it, and a very, very talented young girl named Fariza Balk. So we have a good cast.
Is it edited now? They're editing now?
I just finished it before I got on the plane to do your show.
Is Brando a top pro to work with?
Oh, he's brilliant. He's everything.
Prepared?
He, not only that, but his choices are so brilliant. His choices are so...
Choices mean?
Meaning what he wants to do in a scene. They're so beyond anything I could ever think of. I mean, he makes me look great as a director, I can tell you.
We'll be back with our remaining moments with John Frankenheimer. Andersonville comes to TNT tomorrow night. Moreau comes in October. Don't go away.
Are you handsome? Woof. I'd love to take you home with me.
Women just love Elliot. He can thank Purina One brand lamb and rice formula. See, Purina One's first ingredient is real lamb. Even says so on the label. Compare it with others. And lamb with other wholesome ingredients helps give dogs healthy, shiny coats.
There's something I've always wanted to tell you.
Really?
Your dog is absolutely gorgeous.
Purina One, second to none.
At BASF, we don't make the cooler. We make it cooler. We don't make the jeans. We make them bluer. We don't make the toys. We make them tougher. We don't make the water scooter. We make it lighter. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
It's a special National Geographic Explorer. It's an insect invasion. It's their own little kingdom, complete with gardens, graveyards, and air conditioning. How do these African termites do it?
Insect Invaders. Sunday night, 9:30 Eastern, turn to TBS.
We're back with John Frankenheimer as a young man involved. You were involved with the ending of McCarthyism, right? I mean, you saw red channels and banning of people.
Yes, I did. I was involved in all that.
Did you speak up at the time?
I don't think I did, Larry. No. I was very young. I was working for CBS.
People were actually banned.
Yes.
Right? This guy can't work in this because he was a member of this organization 20 years ago.
That's right.
You spoke out, though, didn't you? Or you did?
Well, I spoke out as much as I could by making Manchurian Candidate, which was
a statement.
A very positive statement. I mean, a very strong statement about McCarthyism. And it had not been over that long when we made that picture.
Do you retain your strong political leanings?
Well, when you said strong political leanings, when Bobby Kennedy was killed, I got very disenchanted with politics. And I don't think I've been actively involved in a political cause since then.
Andersonville, though, is also a statement, is it not?
Well, Andersonville is a statement about
war,
and about the fact that you must have a certain code to lead your life. I mean, there's a code of ethics, a code of morality. But even under, no matter what the situation is, there has to be a certain dignity and a certain nobility in the way you lead your life, because otherwise it's just chaos.
How do you want to be remembered, John? I mean, you're in your late 60s, right?
No, early 60s. The middle 60s.
Middle 60s. Okay. So you got a lot of years ahead. You want to keep on directing.
You notice how fast I said that?
You want to keep on directing.
Yes,
I forgot that you were a baby in the business.
That's right. Larry, I want to be... That's a strange question. How do I want to be remembered? I think I want to be remembered as a guy who did honest films, who did them well, and who... I want to be known as a working director, not as some flash in the pan. You know, I want a career that people are going to say, well, look at that. It lasted for however number of years. And I mean, too often you read these things about these wonderful directors, and when they died, the, quote, glory years were so far behind them. I don't want that to happen to me. I want to keep on going, and I want to be remembered as being better at the end than I was at the beginning.
Well, I'm looking forward to Andersonville, looking forward to Moreau.
Thanks.
Looking forward to a lot more from you.
Thanks.
One of my favorite people.
Thanks.
John Frankenheimer, and you will see Andersonville tomorrow night, Part 1, Part 2 on Monday night on TNT. And again, as we've been saying, you'll be seeing it often. We hope that you found this edition of Larry King Weekend as enjoyable and as entertaining and as informative as I did. One of the giants, John Frankenheimer. Phew. Next week we'll be in Los Angeles. One of the guests, as we told you, will be Magic Johnson. We're also going to host a big special next week that you'll see later on TNT when the theater owners of America honor the best. John Frankenheimer, our guest on this edition of Larry King Weekend. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. Spring is coming. Good night.
Sunday, deep in the rainforest hides a killer. Can science stop it before it kills hundreds? Again on the next CNN Presents Sunday.
At 21, he was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Now, Mike Tyson wants to be undisputed champion again. He wants to unify the title. He begins against newly crowned WBC champion Frank Bruno. Is Tyson ready? One thing's for sure. Bruno versus Tyson. Heavyweight championship. Saturday, March 16th, live on pay-per-view.
Bruno-Tyson fight, Saturday, March 16th, live, 6 p.m. on TCI pay-per-view.
Within each of us, there is a thin line.
People are dying here. I want to know why.
Between reality and illusion.
Are you ready for my wisdom? What's going on here?
Harry DeMaurier will cross that line.
I've got so much power to give you. All you have to do is beg.
Tune in TCI pay-per-view for Lord of Illusions. TCI adds excitement.
In a world designed for adults, there's a special place in Portland where children come first. Legacy Emmanuel Children's Hospital. For more than 80 years, we've been caring for infants and children, giving them the best opportunity for health. In our unique healing environment, young families are treated with close, personal attention. So children can go on being children and grow up to face a future where the sky is the limit.
From Hollywood stars to sports heroes to world leaders, Larry's talked to them all.
How many shows? How many guests? Who's counting?
The king of talk.
Oh, Larry.
Larry King Live.
Brought to you by the used car market, where we'd like you to think of us as your uncle in the car business. That's the used car market in Milwaukee.
This is CNN.
Hello, I'm Ted Texter in Atlanta, keeping an eye on your weather forecast, and it still includes some snow in the north and eastern United States. But the storm is pushing offshore. We look forward to some better days after another day or so. And still a lot of wind is cutting across the open Great Lakes, at least Erie and Ontario, and that's making some lake effect snow. Starts